You know that feeling after a big project wraps, the one where everyone tells you, now go and rest. You are earned it. You close the laptop, block the calendar, maybe even put your phone on do not disturb. And then a week later, you feel worse than when you started. Like somehow the break itself broke. So here, me and Mariam joining you as the host of this podcast, and there is a very wonderful, very dear guest with us. So, Mariam, over to you.
Yeah, whom we have is Lisa Klarner, who is a founder of LK Coaching and Consulting, and also who has published a book on social anxiety, and who is very open about her life and personal development aspects of her life. And actually, I came to know her through her article, Why My Recharge Became More Exhausting Than My Work, something connected to what Rustum was discussing now. So, welcome, Lisa, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I was just smiling when I heard from Rustum and our time together, and I'm so interested in hearing more about what you have, Miriam, and some of the great work that you're doing there at Crank.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And Lisa is not a stranger for me. We worked together, worked alongside. Lisa, welcome to Crink, and we will discuss everything, things there in the work, and actually what made us to create Crink, and what made you to actually uh, writing the book, and also the articles, and actually the things you change in your life, and the things you actually working to achieve.
I'm
So
looking
yeah,
forward to giving the
let's.
audience a wonderful lot of takeaways from you, Lisa. And
Yes.
yeah, so mental health and work, productivity, burnout, these are all aspects that, that fascinate us whenever an article is released or whenever new studies are coming up, because these are the areas that we help clients with. Okay. So when I read your article, actually, rather than as a counselor, I was seeing myself as a founder when, I was going through the article. So you see in the article that, for some of us, work is one of the primary fuel sources, and not just the,
Mm.
a series of tasks on paycheck. And I can very well connect to that, because for me as well as for Rastam, we are, aligned on that line, like, the meaning of existence, fulfillment of, all every fulfillment that all comes when our brain works towards something that is meaningful, productive, and when we deliver an outcome. And in a startup also, while running it, I feel like, we need a team who feels the same way, who experience that passion that you were talking in that article. So can you spread some light about what is your viewpoint on that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so it was an experiment for me to actually have a break. And all of my career, since I've had the business since 2012, and I often have people say to me, uh, why don't you just take a break? Just take a break. Well, finally I did. And so when I took that break, I found as a founder, like such as you, that I felt like I was missing something and I had so much to give. I have things to share. I have things to give instead of just sitting and and trying to do this relaxation, just resting and sleeping. Now, certainly I did sleep because I haven't had a break for a while. So I slept a lot. But then I started having all these ideas. And as founders, it's like, oh, shoom, 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 they're all coming in. So I had need to have, notebooks by my car. In my car when I'm driving, which my son says is the most dangerous thing I can do is write while I'm driving, but I can do it just a little note. So all the ideas come flowing because I've cleared space. And so I honored what I needed, which was a little bit of a pause, but then I got clarity. And and the important thing I think from a mental health perspective is I know what I'm capable of based on my personality style. So I have previously experienced burnout, and we won't get into that right now, but I have had issues with that in the past. but I've done so much healing. I've seen therapists, counselors, I've seen coaches. I still do. I take very good care of myself. My self-care is a high priority for me. And that helps me understand myself better so that then I know that I can push and go and go and go and take that little break. And that's okay because I think there's a lot of by people that have different personality styles because I am a coach as well. So that different personality styles can't handle that and that's okay. So having that understanding as with a startup of your own, understanding the personality styles is important because as we know as leaders, not everyone is the same.
Mhm.
So we can push ourselves, but maybe the others need take that vacation day to completely disconnect and I don't want to hear from you, rest. But then another one you say, well, when you're gone, think about these the strategy for these five things. And they'll love that because it's energizing, it's fueling.
Yeah.
That's when the ideas come.
Yeah, exactly those things actually, Lisa. Because in a startup, actually, we used to say actually even we decide we can't shut off things. And once actually I mentioned to Mariam. So Mariam, even that time actually I was working with BCG, and actually Mariam is running her company, and also I jokingly said to Mariam, Mariam, you make more money, and I can actually just quit my job, and actually I can sit idly. So that was actually what I said to Mariam, and what she said was actually, Rastam, I don't believe you will sit idle for 1 day or 2 day, max 2 day, because you are not the person. You never get satisfied with actually with a lesser load of work in your life.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
that's
Russell is someone who always, uses his brains and come up with new things and, solutions and find out new problems and then solutions for them. So it is that kind of a vibe that I get. And as you said, yes, taking breaks might be necessary. It is necessary actually at times, and it shouldn't be like, um, having long months and months of work and then 2 months of break. Instead of that, it should be incorporated on a day-to-day basis. Small things that nurture us, and as you said, new ideas come up. Psychologically also thinking, having that space of for mental clarity, a pause for clarity, that is really needed. And have you felt like, people have really misunderstood the idea of that pause? Um, like, the long months and then 2 months of break. What do you think about that?
Yes, I think that it's more about understanding the value of the understanding, I should say, based on your needs, based on your mental health status, I guess how much work have people done on themselves. So in my case, for example, I know I can be working and having worked at a fast-paced company where Rustum and I both were for a while, you need to sometimes you're like go 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 and then I'm going to go for a walk. 15 minutes, and it's not like I need to take 2 hours off and then come back to it's 15 minutes, go for a walk and and just process and think about the creative ideas of things that can help me with the next task. Or maybe I need to just step away and have some sound frequencies, listen to, with my earbuds, listen to a sound frequency or do a meditation. And I have all these tools in my toolbox based on my history with anxiety. So I know and I feel in my body when I need to take that pause. And for me, it's short. Now, when
and
we think
listen,
about some
listen,
people,
don't
yeah,
miss the part. Actually, you own a farmhouse, or your family own a farmhouse. You can just go there and do a walk, and that's one of the most relaxing things, right? Yeah.
yes, yes, like out, right, like be out in a serene place that's just really, quiet and just sit. And that's okay too. And it's what is the time? How much time? That's the thing that people try to put a structure around, I think. And so, but if someone is really is having tons of issues, they feel like they need help, but they say they don't really have time, And that often is the case. It might appear that they don't have time. Just start small with something like a 10-minute meditation or something. I'm heavily meditated, so I can literally meditate for an hour at a time and I feel great, and it's just like super relaxing for me. But I think when somebody's just starting, they would start with 10 minutes is my recommendation. Um, but I want to go back to what you were saying, Miriam, about how long of like when we say, oh, you need to take off at least a couple months and just get some, recharge yourself. Well, I think maybe some people do need that.
Yes.
But what do they do? What do they do with that time? And for me, I would say I did need a break, but I probably needed only a couple weeks. And I just felt I was trying to do what people say, like just don't plan or do anything, just sit there. And and that's what we were saying with about Rustum earlier. I'm simple. It's just like whoosh, all these ideas come in. So just like write it down, but also be careful because when we do take a couple weeks off or a month or whatever it is, we don't want to start up a whole bunch of things knowing something else is coming. So there's a fine balance to this drive and passion of creative ideas is we can have 10 things going on at one time, and maybe we can do that for a while, but all these ideas you have to pick pick a few lanes and roll with those lanes. Otherwise, you end up with the half-built bridges. So I've heard people say, and people resonate with that. It's like, oh, I had this idea. Somebody said such and such thing, and you start working on it, and then all of a sudden you meet someone else, and then they say, oh, I had this other idea, and I'm gonna blah blah blah, and then you start doing this other thing, and so it's like pick a couple lanes, write the other stuff down, and come back to it later.
Yeah.
But so did that. I kind of went roundabout answering you, but how did yeah.
From what you said, yes, we need to have our own thoughts and our own ideas, which is highly missing in today's world, right? And something else also that strike while you were mentioning, like, 10 to 15 minutes a day. Actually, people uh, keep postponing the 10 minutes of walk that they need to have outside, or the meditation, or the prayer, just by thinking that they don't have time. But then I don't have time is just, that is just a thought that pulls us back from everything, but that's not the reality. If we can prioritize that,
Hmm.
going for 10 minutes walk outside is something that can be made practical at least, 3 4 days a week, right? And the nature sounds are also very soothing, which will help with nature and nature sounds with stress reduction and to give us more clarity.
Hmm.
And recently,
Yes.
Mariam, if you we recently actually being a startup founders, we both actually right now, it's very difficult for us to actually take a long vacation. Not difficult, it's impossible. The word is impossible, not difficult. It's impossible for us actually in a fast-paced startup world to take a 1 month vacation or actually, if you're taking a vacation, the vacation needs a vacation to get back from the vacation. The
Right.
break needs another break to get back. That's so. Being in a startup, it's not. It can't be affordable right now. So what we decided few days back was actually few weeks back was actually to we need but because we need a family time, we need actually a break with our kids. So what we decided was actually we thought we are living in Kochi, Kerala. It's one of the most beautiful place as per all the tourism listing. It's like actually it's called Goat's Own Country. Lisa, you are welcome home,
Yes.
welcome to Kerala. Yeah.
Oh.
So we should do a podcast in real, in physical, in person podcast. So at that time, so
Yeah.
it's like actually it's one of the most beautiful place in it considered as actually one of the most beautiful place in the world. So we decided, and we have actually backwaters. We can see from our window the backwaters and actually see it at one end. So we decided actually there is a 15 minutes drive only to one of the best hotels in Kerala, the Grand Hyatt. So we took actually 2 rooms for 2 days, and with our kids and all, actually we checked in here there. We had lot of uh, beautiful beautiful time spending just 2 days. So what we understood was actually it was better than we taking a 1 week vacation far away, taking long drive in our condition. Because I'm speaking about we have time to for the vacation and a vacation for recovering from the vacation. It is fine and great. But for us in the current scenario, it is very much impossible. So when we went through this thing, actually, after the hotel we checked out, we are fresh to go to work because it's 15 minutes only drive. There is no lag of a vacation.
Yes,
It's
yes.
very important
Right. You don't end
to
yeah.
explore the practicalities of the position that you are in, the environment that you have, and your personality to match what is possible, right?
Right. It doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be the weekend, or it can be the 10-minute walk like we talked about. It doesn't have to be I need to exercise every day for an hour. While that might seem overwhelming, start small. Just like meditating. Start with 10 minutes. Maybe you work up to an hour if you feel you need it. The vacation, right, can be quick, but you prioritize because you could say to yourself, well, I don't have time even on the weekend to go because now we have all the things at home to do, but you can make it's a choice. Just like getting help and asking for support is a choice, right? So like if someone needs to feels that it's important for the family to go away like you guys just did, then do it. Just make the choice and do it. And that's awesome that you did. And it's a great example. And you think about someone who might be struggling with balancing their work life. It's a choice again. I can say no, I can ask for help, I can do so what are the things you can do to make things better, especially with a startup and all the hard work that you're constantly putting all your efforts and energy into. And so gives you energy? So of course that we talked earlier, like you get the creative energy from the ideas, but when you come back to your family, do you have take what is the transition? Like sometimes I think too, like what is the transition from work to home? And it's very blended.
Yeah. Yes.
But
There's
yeah,
no
they're very
no
blended.
small. Yeah. Really.
Mhm. But I think like there's rituals that can be done, like a breathing exercise or something. There's things to do to just like be like, I need 5 minutes to the family and say, I need 5 minutes to just sit quietly by myself first and I'll be right with you.
Yes.
And that's okay. So
Exactly. That is
I want Mariam. I want. Yeah. Yeah. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, Mariam. Yes. Yeah, yeah, no, 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 no. I just want actually to take a slightly more personal turn, if it's okay, because I know you are listeners always appreciate. Then there is a real history behind a conversation. What were you back then? Because you were okay, you are open about many things, and you wrote a book on it. Actually, I'm yet to read it. I'm very, very curious to read the book, and very, yeah. So what were you back then, and how different is the Lisa sitting here today? And if you can be open about the things you went through, and how you overcome it, and how you decided to write this book, and the person right now, who is he she, the person from where I worked with. So that what's, yeah, please.
sure, of course. Yeah, so
Yeah,
back
if you are
earlier in
perfectly
my life,
comfortable with, Lisa, it's you are if you are very perfectly comfortable with, okay.
I'm very open. I feel like it's really important for me to be vulnerable and open about what I went through because it helps others. Because I had felt completely alone and unsure about what was going on with me when I had the extreme shyness, is what I would initially have called it. And so I put a lot of things in place such as perfectionism, control. And I have to admit the controlling thing and planning is still an issue that that I often struggle with today. But it's also why I'm successful. And so some of the things I did put coping mechanisms in place to be this perfect person that I thought I needed to be because I was extremely afraid and anxious about how people were judging me.
Mm.
And so a lot of it, and that's what social anxiety is the fear of being judged, and being, it would be classified as shyness or in very intense anxiety. And ultimately, and that's why when I figured out what it was and what was the name for what I had, which was social anxiety disorder, then I finally had a path. It's like, oh, there actually is. There was something I need to work on. And that's when I started going through therapy and seeing professional counselor and started meditating then. And it was going really well. And that's when my first breakdown happened. So we say the burnout breakdown, I guess we'll call it. And so and it was all because of these coping mechanisms I had put in place for myself, having, making sure I was and completely prepared for everything that could possibly come my way, have an answer to every single question that someone would ask, always try to do my best work in a perfect way. So I still had those tendencies. And so, of course, corporations with best intentions will not stop giving you work if you keep producing work. So I just kept going and going and going. And then eventually I started having some health issues with blood pressure, and it got really, really high. I ended up having to take off a couple weeks. So I would call that a catalyst. And that's what oftentimes drives these changes. So you have some catalyst that's like, hold on a minute, something's got to change because this is not going to work for me. And that's when I took off a couple weeks and decided to then publish the book and go part time in my corporate career. And that's sort of what started the whole like, this is happening. I'm being alert. There's something pushing me to make a change here so that I can make a difference.
Mhm.
Because and so that was the important thing. And it's like what you guys are doing with Crank and trying to make a difference and help. And so that was what I felt. Um, and so that's where I really was more open and speaking. And I still to this day think the day that I stood up in front of the audience and launched at my book launch party was was a surreal moment
Mhm.
of taking this secret pain that I've been struggling with my whole life and talking about it openly and publishing a book on it. So that was a huge step. And so that was really where I became layers and layers of my authenticity, which is the person I am now. Now I show up authentically. I, I speak my truth, and I bring my whole self, and I just connect with people. And that's why, like Rustum, you and I, so it's like I see the person, I show up as myself. And so, but that was a multi year process that I had to go through to uncover who I really was and let myself be who I am. And so I'm going to pause for a minute because I can go into the second half of the story, but I wanted to pause first and see what questions you had on this part so far.
This fear of being judged, the burnout, breakdown, health issues. These are not at all easy stuff to handle. And the most amazing part is that, you are giving those learning to others by being vulnerable. And that is amazing, Lisa. I'm really proud of you. Uh,
Oh,
See,
thank
a lot
you.
of people um, who are not self aware enough to take help in the first place, right? A majority of them. And a subset of that, they do take help with therapists and they overcome it. But then, even a subset, a very small percent of them are ready to open up and talk about it in such a way that, others are also able to take learning from that. And very proud of you.
Right. Thank you. I know it was when I started doing the coaching. So that's when I started becoming a life and career coach. Oh, I think we lost Rustum.
Yeah,
He'll be
he'll be
back.
back.
So the life and career coaching piece, then I was able to more directly guide people that were struggling with anxiety or career choices and finding their authentic self. So who are they authentically? And that's what oftentimes causes the anxiety is people just don't really know who they are because they're conditioned through family, through traumas they maybe experienced, they're conditioned to be a certain way. And so that's part of the challenge. And so as I continued forward, I stayed connected to corporate, and I still feel like corporations are the place where I spend a lot of my time, and that's okay because there's mixed information. Like corporations are intense and there's so much work, and that's true. But it's where I thrive and feel I can make a bigger impact by coming in a grounded way, in a helpful way, and help us as a team feel like we can accomplish things. So through the consulting side of my business. But I want to step back for a minute. So, like, part of it really is once I was the career coach is when I really had that deeper understanding of my personality style. So, I had something I'm certified in called Core Map, which is like Myers Briggs or DISC, which are the ones that are more familiar. And so, recognizing my true style because the anxiety had me change who I was based on the coping mechanisms. And once I was able to understand more about my true personality style and feel into it and feel the natural way that I am born into my natural personality, it's way more comes from a place of true confidence and groundedness and still showing up, obviously being respectful of everyone that I connect with and all of those, all of the standard things. But like from the personality style perspective, it's really it just felt more natural. And so, and then I also know how to read other people too. So, like, I understand who I'm talking to, what their personality styles are, to be more like maybe they need a bit more guidance, maybe they need a bit more storytelling. There's different things that I do based on what I know of others because I want the other people I interact with to be themselves too and see how wonderful they are. So it's like seeing the shining light in everyone and being a shining light myself and then seeing the light in others and helping them feel good about themselves you know
Yes, you'll be able to adapt yourself in a better way how to guide the other person, how to take them
hmm
forward. And what was the moment, Lisa, when you really realized that you need to take help? Was it with the help of someone, or you knew it right from the beginning that you need to take help? Because that self-awareness part, I mean, from these 5 years of running a mental health firm, I realized that is the greatest challenge that is there among people who are facing challenges. The awareness to take help.
yeah, what is the point? Yes, for me there was a few points when I know I needed help, and so the first one was when I self-diagnosed the social anxiety disorder based on an article I read in a magazine. that that'll show you the date. I'm dating myself. It was a paper magazine. The internet maybe didn't even exist at that point. Um, and so I read that article and I thought, this is what's going on. I need therapy. And so I did. So then I knew I wanted to. I had a choice that I did not want to live that way anymore, and I knew that there was help for me. And so it's more about the fact that I, as an individual, was seeking answers. And that's maybe the difference. So some people struggle and we see them struggling, but they don't necessarily feel like they want to change because they just think that's just that's the way life is for them and maybe they just want to stay in that for a while. But like in my case, and I see this in others as well, is I had a desire to seek answers and to get better and feel better. And so that was why I decided to do that. That was the first point where I sought
Nice.
counseling. Yeah. And it's like it's a choice because I'm like I knew life could be better. I just felt like it. I knew it. And it's not and the thing that and along that lines, the thing that I think of too with regard to seeking therapy is I've I as and you know how this is because you're in this industry and it's just like it takes a lot of work and dedication to you can't just have this
Yes.
magic all of a sudden you meet a counselor and bam I'm better the next day or oh, I have this medication, and sometimes we do need medication. I have nothing against that at all. It's like I have this medication and I'm better now. But it takes a lot of hard work and determination, and it can and is better then. So this hard work, this determination, this choice to reach out and actually ask for help is not a weakness. This is something that people need to do because it can be better. And that's why I get a little I'm a little passionate, as you could tell, a little passionate about this, because I just think I see people struggling, and I think if you would take the first step, you know, do one thing, like we said earlier about the meditation. You can't just like start meditating and that's going to help you get better either. You still need the therapy. You need the cognitive behavioral therapy. I've done all different types of therapy in my experience. So I started with cognitive behavioral therapy, and then I did EMDR, and brain spotting is similar to EMDR. So I've done lots of different therapies, and all of that I come and go with it. So I would say I go, and then when the counselor's like, okay, I think we're in a maintenance mode, a few months later, however, whatever the timing is. And then perhaps like I continue to grow and expand, which is what happened with me. And then something else happened as traumas got uncovered and things like that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I think I need to go back to my counselor again. And then I go and it's something else, it's another layer, because we just keep on peeling the onion and just keep peeling away like all these things that we've been holding on to. And as we do that, more things come to
Yes,
light. Hmm.
exactly. The
Hmm.
determination to work with a therapist and to constantly put your effort in that is highly needed, because after seeing the therapist for one day, things are not going to change magically. You need to definitely put in your
Right.
effort consistently, and the therapist will definitely know which method to use. Is it CBT, EMDR, whatever it is, SFBT. So putting the trust in the therapist and taking it consistently is what is needed for the growth, right?
Right. And the other thing too is when someone goes to therapy, the counselor have that conversation, and of course when they leave the counselor they feel great. Good. I don't need to do anything in between. And then and then it's like then they go off and don't do like the journaling or whatever types of practices that were discussed in the counseling session. But that's really how it gets reinforced. Because when I was deep in the cognitive behavioral therapy, I would have all over my desk, I'd have handwritten affirmations everywhere. I would listen to audio recordings of affirmations because we can reprogram our
Exactly.
brain. And so, but you can't do it by going to a counseling session once a week. You need to actually do the things to change the thoughts, because we can change our thoughts.
Exactly. Most of the people say, like, I cannot change what is happening. So, what is the point in working on myself? But this is exactly the point. Like, whatever is happening, how you take it inside, how you think about it, how you feel about it, everything influences how we act and problem solve. So, definitely working on self is highly needed to have better clarity and to take things forward with the right direction. So, coming from India, from Kerala especially, there is a lot of stigma around therapy itself, maybe more than what is there in your place. So there is a lot of stigma, even though people know that okay, I need to take therapy, but it is they keep it very secret, and only a very few person actually seek help because what will people think because of that thought.
Hmm. I totally get it, because that was exactly the way I approached it first. That's why my book is titled Releasing the Secret Pain, because I went to therapy and I didn't tell anyone except my husband at the time. And I was embarrassed to say I needed therapy. And then when I finally opened up about it, about all these struggles I had, people around me said they were completely shocked. They had no idea that I was going through all these things. And so, and they were very supportive. And that's the thing, it's a misconception I think that counseling, and I think it's changing now. I feel like it's changing, but it's a misconception that we would be viewed weak if we're seeing a counselor, because that is not the case. If we're seeing a counselor and doing the hard work that it takes to make our life better, that is a sign of strength, not weakness.
You were talking about the difference between friction and fuel, right? And you explained so beautifully that, burnout happens when there is a constant friction, whether it be working against your values, with the wrong people, something that drains your soul. And while reading that, I could really connect to it because I'm a person who faces a lot of difficulty in saying no to a person, or even
Mm.
giving a suggestion to improve to a person who is under me. That is also very hard for me. So those are the things that really drain me. Yeah. And also regarding values, I was remembering one incident when as a company we really hold on to so many values, okay. And there was one point when we had to really have difference of opinions with a team member on certain values, and that period it was like, it was so draining that uh, each day when I had to go to office, it was for a few days, okay. But then those days I still remember, because when I had to go to office, it was like, doing something very hard. But then all the other days, it is like, my best place to go every morning. So contradicting values, people, wrong people. So do you have any experience in these areas, Tisa?
Yes, I do. I know exactly what you're saying because I think part of this is some of the more recent things over the past probably 10 years that I've been doing is being aware of the energy that people bring. So what is the how do they show up? And so are they looking for they're coming from a more negative place potentially based on their own traumas. Again, they're not doing it on purpose, it's who they are. But for those of us that are looking more for to be helpful and purpose and focus on solutioning and creative ideas and being more positive and happy with life, it's hard to be around people that are pushing in the opposite direction. So they just want to try it. It's kind of like we're like hitting, running into each other and like you said, difference of opinions, things like that. So in my case, part of the challenges I've experienced are more around I see the vision. So so this is one of the things. So as my personality style and I'm core map is the one I mentioned. So my personality style leads with commander, which is what one of, and we won't get into all that today. But basically, I'm very visionary and strategic, and so I can see a plan unfold without having all the details. And so part of what happens is I see the plan and it's all set in my mind and I see that we're at the end state and then someone else shares an idea and I learned how to pause and listen instead of resisting. But at times if there's two people that are similar, so like if I'm pushing my agenda, the other person's pushing their agenda, and ultimately do I decide, even though I know like with absolute certainty that the way I'm suggesting it could be better, is better in my opinion, do I back down? So some of that's exhausting. It's like this back and forth that I see. And especially because in my business, because I'm a contractor who comes on as a consultant, I can give advice and set the strategies, which I do, but then ultimately the customer decides. So sometimes it's tiring because of the churn and that can be draining. And so like it's more about that like spinning our wheels and like let's just make a decision. Let's not bring another person into the circle to try to get this strategy shaped. We can figure it out. Let's go. So for me when I think about what is that friction, it's about the blockers. It's like we can't go, like, let's just do it. Let's just make this decision. Let's pull the trigger and do it instead of like re-talking about it again or bringing in another opinion and so some of that. And then coming back to the energy piece, some of it and some of the things I do, so like some of the things that I do are actually going way back to when I was going through the anxiety therapy. So when I feel myself triggered, and that's really important, I think, for people to pay attention to, is when you feel you're having a strong reaction that's out of character, even if it's internal, that would be a sign to breathe, take a deep breath. And I've perfected this where I can do deep breathing without people knowing I'm doing deep breathing. So take a deep, like, grounding breath and just remember, connect. And even like if I'm in Zoom is easier because I could like have my hand on my stomach, and which is in Reiki is my solar plexus. So like breathe in, and then I can just recenter myself and acknowledge that this trigger is coming from something, but it's actually outside of me. Because you think about anxiety is out of us. Because whenever we feel anxious, we're like out of our body. So like the goal is to get in our body. And so when we're triggered, it's similar. That's why that works for me. And so and listening and saying, and perhaps we even say, I need to just process this for a little while. Can we like come back to this tomorrow and just let me think about it more? We don't need to keep subjecting ourselves to it in that moment. We can just recognize we're triggered, see if we can breathe through it. And if we can't, then it's time to say, you know what, I need to come back around to you. And there's one other thing I wanted to say. One other thing that you mentioned, Miriam, about saying no to people. It's hard. It's
Yes,
hard because it's, yeah, and
yes.
and it's like you don't want to hurt. It's just I have no space, and and for example, this is more of a personal example, but like I'm moving, and because of the way my life unfolded, I've moved like 6 times in the past 6 years. And so I know some other people in my family that are moving, and I thought if they asked me to help them move, the answer is no. I have no. So like it's more about protecting our come back when someone's approaching you, for example, and they ask you, feel into it and say, does this align with what I feel, where I need to be putting my energy?
Mm.
And that the answer is I'm not really feeling that, or that's not aligned with the direction I'm going in right now. There doesn't have to be a lot of it reason.
Yeah.
Like we don't have I tend to over explain. That's one of my other things that I'm working on, is over explaining why no, why the answer is no. It's just like that doesn't align with me, or I have too many other things I'm focused on right now, or even just like I'm not interested. It's like it doesn't, and that's the thing. I'm still trying to perfect that myself because
It's
it's like, how do I say no? Of course, when Rustum approached me about this, I was like, yes.
that's really it,
uh,
right?
but
That's wonderful to hear, Liz. And, and I was actually, because I know in the US in the 70s and 80s there are shrink this stigmatization of taking a mental health. But I was very surprised to actually hear actually still in US there is actually a stigmatization, or actually of a tabooization, or a taboo being of taking a mental health support. I was really surprised because yeah, even yeah, because even though I said actually it's a God's own country, but when it comes to mental health, we are actually most of the devils because
Yeah, for
people
me.
don't take actually help. People hate taking help. Yeah.
mhm,
And also
So
mhm.
so
from like,
yeah. So
yeah,
he's still actually still in the US. Still, people feel the same way on mental health, or at least it changing.
It still does seem like there is. It's certainly getting better. I feel like it's getting better in the U.S.,
Mhm.
but it's ultimately it's the thing about therapy is the person needs to make that internal choice, because we can see someone struggling and say, we can be in a relationship with someone who needs therapy and say, you really need therapy. But the only way it's ever going to work is if they want
Mm.
to,
Yes.
and so, and when someone sees a therapist, they don't have to tell everyone.
Yes.
It's like it can be, it's nobody's business.
Yes.
And so, so it's like, sure, there's a stigmatism. It's only a stigmatism depending who you're talking
Yes.
to. And in my experience, if someone has a reaction
Mm.
to the fact that they're seeing a therapist, it's because they need therapy more than you do,
Yeah.
because it's triggering them.
Yes.
So we think about, because it makes them uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
right?
a
Like,
wonderful way to look at it, Lisa.
yeah,
Yes. And also,
yeah, these,
yeah. Go on, Liz. Yeah.
yeah, because these conversations, like what we're having today,
Yeah.
make people that are really struggling would be,
Yeah.
they it would be hard for them to say that even that they watched it,
Yes.
or comment on it because they're uncomfortable saying that they feel aligned with some of the, some challenges in their life or whatever. So it's just, that's why I feel talking about it is really important,
Yeah.
because we're not all perfect. And it's like, because like Rustum, you met me. I mean, no, we were all on Zoom, but like when we were working together, and it's like, I I went through everybody went through a lot, but like I've done a lot of work on myself, and I feel like I'm showing up authentically now. But I don't have any problem talking about these things from the past,
Mm.
because I want people to feel that there's hope if they're
Yeah.
struggling.
Really. Yes.
It can be
Yes.
Yeah.
better. And I'm not perfect. I'm still not perfect. I'm not ever going to be
Yeah.
perfect. I still need, to do things that lift me up. And some days I feel like I'm in a funk, sort, it's like you have days, good days and bad days,
Totally.
but it's like, right. And that's okay, because we can't, we can't not feel our emotions.
Yes.
We need to feel, and no emotion is bad.
Yes.
So one, for example, would be speaking my truth is something I have been working on the past few years. And so if I, not necessarily at work, I feel like I did well, but personally, and speaking my truth. So like allowing anger, if I'm feeling angry, and it doesn't mean I'm like angry towards a person, it's more like I need to release this anger.
Mm.
So I've, I think it's important for people not to see that as a bad thing,
Yeah.
because if we're harboring this anger, like holding it in and shoving it down, it's like so hard on us.
Yes.
And it shows up in work, at work, because we're more like on edge. So like taking time to express that anger, like, and like screaming into a pillow, or driving down the road in the car, yelling, by yourself, yelling at someone because you can't do it at home. And yes, these are things I've done. So, but it's like, you have to be able to let it out,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's harboring, it's like swirling in your body, and it's like this,
Yes.
and like the smallest thing is like you're edgy. And so it's like, just figure out what it is and let it out. And again, it doesn't have to be directed towards a person, but to release it is helpful.
Yes. So that,
And yeah, yeah, definitely. And actually, I'm actually very the things you went through, but I'm sad about that part. That you cracked it, and actually you found a solution. We all never become the perfect people, but we are a work in progress always. So that's a wonderful thought, and actually I'm very happy actually you found that energy, and you found that clarity on things that actually you need to share with the world. That's amazing. And is moving into actually
all, if you
there.
anyone who wants
Yeah,
personal growth, then therapy is one thing that they need to choose to overcome all this and to
yeah.
have personal growth. So whatever others say, that is secondary. Let them, or we can keep taking it as
Yeah,
Exactly.
we want growth, just choose it. That's it.
yeah.
Right. It's a personal choice. What kind of life do we want?
Yes.
And set that vision. So when I was coaching, I'd have people create their vision board, which is classic, coaching. But a self vision board too. So how do you see yourself and how do you want yourself to be? And what are the goals you're setting? And realize that you can take your own pace
Mm.
when you're receiving therapy. You don't have to get better in a week or a month or whatever. It might take longer, and it's an ongoing journey. I still see my own coach for a year. Like I've seen her probably for 8 years straight,
Mm.
and I'm still working through things a lot. Every month I meet with her, and I keep digging
Yeah.
in and figuring out what is it I need to work on next and what is next, because I'm not ever satisfied with how I can feel even more authentically connected to myself and my soul and who I am, and so just seeing everyone and seeing through the fear, we can see through the fear. So that's why I think why people might recommend to some individuals to receive therapy, because they can see through the fear, and see that it could be better. But like ultimately for those that are listening to this podcast, is like if you're struggling, it's okay
Yes.
to seek help. Actually, I take the first step.
Yeah.
And because another thing too that I see a lot of people do is that they talk to their friends or they talk to their family about their issues, and then the thing that happens is we just keep repeating the story over and over and over. And because the family and friends are not therapists, and even if they were, I don't ever suggest seeing a family
Mhm.
member for therapy. It needs to be a someone removed.
Yes.
That It's a professional who understands how the mind, how the brain works, and how what the therapies do, and as Miriam, as you said earlier, which therapy is appropriate, because you can't just dive into EMDR without having some kind of level setting therapy first. So it's like you don't want to like open up all the trauma, and they have to be able to have some kind of foundation. So like that's an example. So you can't just go and all of a sudden you hear this buzzword of EMDR, which is I for those that don't know, it's eye movement desensitization. Um, and so, anyways, but if you start trying to do that on your own, it's risky. So you still need a therapist. You always need a therapist, in my opinion, to start with.
Yes.
Exactly. And also, what you were saying, like, normalizing that, we are taking a break and we just need 5 minutes for a breathing exercise, whether it be in our workplace or at home. I feel like that also has to be normalized, that short breaks that everyone needs, maybe for a quick cry or just like you said, just for a drive. And even at home, while we are taking that break, while saying like, mama or papa needs a 5-minute break to get back on track. And uh, giving that space, as you said, like, all feelings are okay, but then how we act based on that, that is where we need to intervene, and coping mechanisms are highly needed for that. So in workplaces also, I feel like, that has to be normalized, where people take a quick break and get back even more energized back into the.
Right. I totally agree. And I think when I was earlier in my career, I was at Kimberly Clark Corporation, and I worked in the office every day. And so they at one point tried to implement a meditation room, and it just, because people were so uncomfortable with taking that break, it got shut down because nobody was using it.
Mm.
And because where do you go? In today's workplace, when you're in the office and then you're even on like open workspaces, how do you find that space? And I think to go outside if you can, and that's the thing, like look at your, I understand calendars and understand that some folks in corporate are book solid. True, I've been there. But oftentimes maybe a meeting gets canceled
Mm.
or something happens, and instead of filling it with work, how about if you go take a quick drive or go outside for a walk and listen to a walking meditation or something like that, where instead of filling it up right away, take a breath and figure out if that's an opportunity to do that, because that is okay. Because ultimately, in my opinion, when when I do that, I come back and have way more productivity than if I would have powered through
Yeah.
it straight. So, and I feel, you know, it doesn't have to be long. Again, like we said way at the beginning of this, it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it could be a breathing. You know, if you have no option of leaving, you can, and I've done this before where you can like have your earbuds in and just be listening to a meditation and staring sort of like aimlessly at the computer screen, you know, where nobody really needs to know that you're doing that, but you're taking that moment to just get centered back in your body again.
We also, as a parent, we are also expecting our four kids will be actually moving out in few years. So how did actually, because right now the house is actually full of voice, full of energy. We are engaged, but that kind of a move, how you overcome that kind of a move?
Oh, how do we prepare
Yeah.
ourselves for when the family leaves?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have my only, so I have one son and he's off in college, and I, because I had worked on myself as an individual when he was growing up, it made it somewhat easier
Hmm.
to to be grounded and okay that he was far away from me. Um, and my ultimate goal with my son is to help teach him through my own experiences and to just be his true self, and having him show up as his, not trying to make him be um, someone other than who he truly is by his nature and his inherent nature,
Yeah.
and honoring the fact that he's an introvert, for example.
Hmm.
You know, so, and being there for him and always, you know, always saying, you know, I'm here for you and you can talk to me about anything, and just really allowing him to have that independent circle or bubble of his life, but knowing he can come home anytime and I'm here. But then also in parallel, having my own life as well. So I'm not feeling so like needy or, you know, needing him, or I can't, I need to see him, I need to talk to him. I have no life without being a mom. It's more having sort of that, having those different pillars of who I am and who I show up as, and then allowing him to be the same. So like allowing him to um, show up as his authentic self as well. And he's been great. He's been doing awesome there. You know, he's in his junior year and he's loving it. He's doing great. And so for his, with his architecture degree, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful answer, Lisa. And yeah, Mariam, this was a very nice discussion happened. We discussed about the personal journey, the coaching part, and we are also actually building in that space of actually therapy and coaching for actually mid to senior level professionals. So I'm bringing there are a lot of negatives of Gen A, but actually we bringing in actually the how we can bring Gen A as a part. Gen A, we are building AI models to actually improve the improve fast growing people's life in the well-being space. So
And
thanks Lisa,
note,
yeah, to
Lisa,
joining.
one thing that you would like to convey to entrepreneurs who are, you know, leading that big life.
Yes, for, well, for, from an entrepreneurial perspective, it's important for you as an entrepreneur to understand yourself and your true personality and honor that, and stay in that place of being authentic, because that will have you bring in your best self in whatever way that you feel passionate about bringing it to the world. Because if we try and have that balance of what's right for me now,
Yeah,
what is the choice that's right for me now, and not making emotional decisions. So taking the time to breathe and pause and check in with yourself to understand what you say yes to.
Yes.
this is wonderful, wonderful, Lisa. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much for joining us, Mariam. I feel actually it's same way with you. Like actually, you are getting to know Lisa, which I know. Yes. So you got the opportunity to meet Lisa, and She was amazing when we walked, and now also she's amazing as well. So thanks, Lisa,
Thank you,
for
Lisa,
joining us.
for the
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah,
Thank you. It was wonderful meeting you both, meeting you, Miriam, and good seeing you again,
yeah.
Rustum.
See you. See
And
you
Great.
and welcome to
Do
welcome home.
continue all the great works that you're doing, Lisa, in this.
Yeah,
yes, you too. You too. Let me know if there's anything else you need in the
Yeah, sure,
future.
sure.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
All right. Thank
Have a nice
you.
day. Bye.